This is Paulie with From the Right Radio, and I've got a very special guest, my first guest on my first show with the newly incorporated From the Right Radio.
Nice.
Yeah, this is it. You are it. This is the premier first guest. I've got former Governor Gary Johnson, Republican from New Mexico, and just looking at the man's press bio is incredibly impressive. What he's done politically and personally, it's very, very impressive. I want to get to the personal stuff in a minute here. For clarification, you served from 95 to 03, 02?
95 through 02.
Okay.
Yeah, so January 1 of 03, I'm out of office.
Okay, got it. So, and you could not run for a third term due to state law.
Right. But being a firm believer in term limits, and
Fantastic.
Who's to say I would have ever been reelected?
This is true. We have term limits for the most powerful office, the president, but we don't have them for lower-level officials. That's a frustrating point. I know a lot of my listeners are very pro-term limits. So are your thoughts the same?
Yes, very much so. I think that as a result of term limits, politicians do the things that should be done as opposed to getting reelected, which isn't always in the best interests of all of us. And I would argue actually not in the best interests of all of us. And that's talking right now about the big issue of the day, which is really the fact that we're bankrupt as a nation. Political promises that were made that should have never been made.
Right.
The fact that we've got to slash government spending right now, the fact that 43 cents out of every dollar is being borrowed.
Yes.
We need to slash government spending by 43%. We need to match up revenues with expenditures. Paul, it means we've got to slash Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. Mm-hmm. I think the only exempt group out of those three are those that are currently receiving Social Security, but everything else has got to be on the table. We have to spend less money. We're bankrupt. This notion that we're going to hand this debt over to our kids is crazy. It's here. It's now. It's got to be dealt with now.
Absolutely. The government is giving more and more bills, and I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they're going to be paying those bills. Not spending would be a great idea. So in your time from 95 to 02, 03, tell me, do you perceive a difference in press coverage and treatment of politicians from back then? Because you were in office during the Internet.com boom and the bust. But the past two elections, 04 and 08, the press has become more and more prevalent in communications, more personal. Do you see a difference between how the press treats politicians today versus maybe 5 or 10 years ago?
No, I really do see it the same. I just, but with a telecast, with a podcast like what you have, mm-hmm. your webcast.
Right.
Webcast.
You've got that right.
All right. Well, with a webcast like this, it just affords so many more opportunities mm-hmm.
that
didn't exist before. So I think it's a plus. I mean, a really big plus. I thought the media did okay by me without exception. But this is much better. This
Fantastic.
is just I delivered a speech the other night on drug reform at the University of New Mexico, and I thought, wow, I thought I did a really good job. It'd be great if. Well, it turns out that somebody was recording it, and it was on the web the next day.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and that works both directions, I realize. But so be it. So be it.
It keeps people honest. We've got a president who's in office now, and he's still campaigning. I mean, he's already talking about Republicans campaigning on the platform of health care repeal, and he says, bring it on and all that. The man is an outstanding campaigner. You got to give him that. There was a very impressive win in 08, but someone needs to tell him that he won. It's time to start leading. So you mentioned New Mexico. That's your alumni, right? You graduated from New Mexico?
Yep.
Lobos?
University of New Mexico, Lobos,
Fantastic.
right?
All righty. And you spent most of your adult life, not all your life, in New Mexico. Is that correct?
Well, since '66. So
okay.
born in North Dakota, South Dakota. Moved to New Mexico when I was 13 years old. I've been there since. Now,
you were talking about financial, fiscal responsibility earlier. You've run a business before. You're not just a pure politician.
I started a handyman business in 1974 as a one-person handyman, me, and in '94 I actually had 1,000 employees, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, pipe fitting. Sold that business in '99. No one lost their job, and business is doing better than ever. So
wow,
really,
fantastic.
kind of the American
how
dream.
To balance books and the how to hire and fire and generate revenue and things of that sort.
Well, again, one person to 1,000 people. Yeah,
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I want to get to some of the issues here. Being from Texas, I know that Texas and New Mexico share roughly 200 or 300 miles of border. We both border Mexico. I consider myself center right. I am a pro-secure borders person. I actually became involved in politics during the Johnny Sutton versus Ramos and Compián border agent situation, which was just a messy situation on both sides. That was the final straw in my personal back to get me and my wife involved as political watchdogs. My understanding is that you are pro-legal immigration, that the cream of the crop comes from Mexico to America for the betterment of their lives. And I understand you had a pretty good relationship with the governors of Mexico and during your term there. So can you tell me more about your thoughts on immigration, legal and illegal?
Well, again, very simply, legal immigration, good thing. Right. Illegal immigration, bad thing. Fence, bad thing. I think the government contributes to making it difficult for individuals to document themselves coming in. I think the government makes it difficult for businesses to document themselves so that, again, legal immigrants can be contributing members to our country.
Absolutely agree with that. The current immigration process is, like most government processes, a big mess.
It is a big mess, yeah. And, Paul, one of the things that Our America Initiative is going to do is we're going to dig a little bit deeper into immigration. I just think that it's been really politicized to the point that we're losing sight of the fact that we are all here as immigrants.
Right.
I mean, we're all here. And when you start talking about quotas, does that mean all of us aren't sitting here then because of quotas that were established? Again, I think it's imminently fixable, if you will, the problems with illegal immigration.
Got it. So stringent controls on businesses that hire illegals. Where you stand?
Absolutely.
On that?
I mean that's where it needs to lie, and stringent penalties, but also making it easy to document.
Fantastic. Now, so documentation, where would you fall on a national ID card?
I would be against a national ID card. I just think that it ends up being I just think the bureaucracy that would surround that, the costs associated with it would way outweigh the benefits.
Be about as effective as the folks that are controlling immigration now. The process that's messed up, they probably would treat the ID card the same way. It'd be a big, muddled, messy process.
Well, those that are law-abiding are going to be hassled, meaning to comply, and those that aren't going to comply, they're just not going to comply, and they'll get away with it.